Hey guys, Captain Spencer Clark, Breaking Bass Guide Service down here at Table Rock Lake. Want to hop on here and give you guys a fishing report for Table Rock Lake and also go over a few baits that I think will help you catch a big fish if you're heading up to Lake of the Ozarks this weekend for the Big Bass Bash. So let's start off with fishing down here. Down on Taneycomo, guys, the trout are doing really good. Had a couple trout trips this week, and it's really hard to beat throwing an orange egg right now out there on Lake Taneycomo, catching a lot of trout on these fire eggs. Several trips this week, we caught, I don't know, probably 30 or 40 fish on each one. Rigging this up on a small split shot rig with a 1/8 ounce weight. Hard to beat this right now, either dragging it on the bottom or kind of floating it through the middle of the water column. A lot of the trout are actually out in the middle of the channel. That's how I've been catching them. Along with the orange eggs, we've been catching a few trout on a pink trout magnet, rigging this up under a slip cork, doing about a 3-foot leader on there. A lot of the fish are suspended out in the main channel. This has also been working. One other thing you can try, if you want to try to catch a larger trout right now, you can take a white hair jig, work this around some of those boat docks down on Taneycomo where there's a current break. This works really well for catching bigger trout. A little bit harder to work this throughout the day. You gotta work a little bit harder to fish a hair jig than you do, say, the two previous baits we went over. Great way to catch a big trout right now. Guys, over on Table Rock Lake, the water's still relatively warm for this time of the year. There's a couple things that are working great as far as catching fish out there. Catching some largemouth up shallow, throwing an Arky 350 lures crankbait and ghost crawl. I've been taking this, running it down the channel banks on the main lake, targeting those bluffs, those bluff transitions where you'll have a bluff transitioning out into smaller rock pea gravel. Some of the places you might, fish earlier in the year around springtime. This has been working well for me, catching some bigger fish. The whole key, guys, is speed kills this time of the year. So I've been taking this crankbait and absolutely burning it to get a reaction bite. You cannot reel this bait fast enough to get it away from. So I've been taking this lure, throwing it out, burning it, making sure I'm hitting bottom, hitting the rocks with it. And this has been producing some good largemouth this past week. Another bait you can't go without on Table Rock this time of the year is throwing any kind of a Chopo or Whopper Plopper, fishing on the same banks that I'm throwing one of these crankbaits. You just kind of have to go day by day with this bait. If you see some bigger rocks up on the bank, like a rock slide or some boulders that are just kind of sticking out of the water, those larger rocks, a lot of times you can get a bite on one of these top waters, rolling it over the top of those. The great thing about this time of the year, guys, is that you can tie one of these baits on, put your trolling motor on high, and just fly down the bank and let the fish kind of tell you where they're at. But you really want to focus, like I said, on those transitions. That's where I really like to fish this time of the year, and just keep a bait wet. And you just never know. Want to get around the bait. Bait's a big key. You start seeing little minnows flipping up on the bank. A lot of times those areas are also where you want to be fishing. Now, out on Table Rock, there's still a lot of fish deep. All summer the fish were around that 19 to 20 foot mark. Right now, those fish, because the thermocline's starting to break up, are actually going even deeper. This past week, caught a lot of fish in that 28 to 35 foot zone. We've been catching them shallower than that all summer, but the fish, once that thermocline breaks up, they start moving a little bit deeper. I've been doing really good on a drop shot, throwing a Bait Cave Customs Nebula in the treetops. There's not a whole lot of fish in the tops of trees right now, but if you know certain trees on the lake, you can catch some big spotted bass dropping this into those tops of those trees. The fish that are on those points, been fishing some of the steeper bluff points with timber on them. Been doing good with a jigging Rap and a white spoon. Like I said, you're gonna see a lot of these fish out in that deeper zone, 28, 35 foot is where they've been. They're gonna probably be even moving deeper as the water temperature cools, those big spotted bass. Soaking all our plastics and Strike Force bass and shad attractant. The fish are really eating on shad right now on Table Rock. Most of the fish that we're catching out deeper, they're coughing up shad as you're bringing them up to the top of the water. So that's one thing to also pay attention to. Up at Lake of the Ozarks this weekend, guys, There's the Big Bass Bash going on. Somebody's going to win over $100,000 in prize money. I'm going to give you a few baits that I would be fishing if I was allowed to go fish the Big Bass Bash up at Lake of the Ozarks. The first thing I would throw is a big glide bait. Everybody knows that the glide baits have the potential to catch some of the biggest fish in the lake. Here at M&H Outdoors, we've got several glide baits. If you're looking to pick something up before you head to Osage Beach, head up to Lake of the Ozarks, we've got some glide baits here that you might have a hard time finding if you go to some of the shops up there. We do have a great selection down here at M&H Outdoors, so I would definitely be throwing a glide bait on some of those chunk rock banks, looking for those shady areas, trying to find areas that have bigger gizzard shad up shallow, bluegill around the docks. That's where you want to throw the big glide bait. Yeah, so guys, don't overlook throwing the big spinner bait up around the sides of the docks. This past week, heard a lot of info coming from the guys that finished really high in the Toyota Series tournament up there. A few of the guys were catching them on a spinner bait, fishing this like a swim jig. If you really think about it, a white spinner bait, you can fish it sort of like a jig, just swim it down the sides of the docks, throw it up around the floats, behind the cables. Spinner bait's always been a great way to get a big bite. Here at M&H Outdoors, they have a whole selection of E-Factor spinner baits. They'll also have these baits at PB2. I know there's going to be a booth there, but if you want to beat the crowds, you might just come by M&H Outdoors, pick you up an E-Factor spinner bait. Great way to catch a big fish. Early in the morning, guys, do not overlook the topwater bite. Big fish hit topwater lures. One of the best baits that you can throw to get a big bite at Lake of the Ozarks is going to be your bone-colored spook or a buzz bait. Both these are going to work really good. This year's been a little bit warmer than it usually is this time of the year. But the great thing about throwing a topwater is you just never know when that big bite's going to come. A lot of times what I will do with these guys is target those shady banks. Those are the banks where that big fish is going to be hanging out just in that shade waiting for something to come over its head. That's what you want to do with one of these topwater baits. Two other things, guys, to have tied on for the Big Bass Bash would be a Bait Cave Customs slim stick. Put this on a shaky head, flip it to all the shady spots on the docks. Big fish love hitting, single style bait like this slim stick. And make sure that you got a jig tied on as well. Big bass love a jig at Lake of the Ozarks. Check out the Cave Cricket from Bait Cave Customs in the Chobe color. This is the color that I would be using if I was fishing for 100,000. Anyways, guys, that's the fishing report. Hope these tips help you catch some big bass up at Lake of the Ozarks. If you're coming down here to Table Rock Lake looking for a great place to stay, check out Trace Hollow Resort. They've got 11 cabins, kitchenettes, their own private boat ramp, and also 14 boat slips. Perfect place to get away if you're coming to Table Rock Lake anytime soon. Until next time, guys, good luck, good fishing. We'll see you on the water.